Hi, I'm Peter Wellenberger. I'm the Great Bay-Piscataqua Waterkeeper with the Conservation Law Foundation, and I'm here today on the beautiful shores of the Oyster River in Durham, New Hampshire, and I'm speaking with Dr. Fred Short, who is with the University of New Hampshire at the Jackson Estuarine Lab. Fred has been studying eelgrass here in the Great Bay Estuary for almost 30 years. And Fred, I'd like to know what's the status of eelgrass in Great Bay and what's happening with it?
Well, as you say, I've been monitoring it for almost 30 years now, and we've seen some fairly dramatic changes in it. Most recently, it's been declining steadily for the last 5 years or so. I created a map. I have this map here that we brought in 1996. This is the yellow is where the eelgrass was in 1996, which was the most abundant that we've seen. And between 2005 and 2009, we lost all of the eelgrass in Little Bay, the Piscataqua River, from Portsmouth Harbor up. We've lost 50% of the grass. 50% of this yellow area has gone away in Great Bay, and we've lost 20% in Portsmouth Harbor. So it's a fairly dramatic decline in about 5 years. And we've tried to restore some of those plants. We've tried to get them to come back, and the water quality just isn't good enough to support eelgrass there anymore. We get overgrowth of seaweeds in Great Bay, which outcompete the eelgrass and drive it out, and then the nutrient input into the bay causes phytoplankton blooms in the deeper parts in the Little Bay and the Piscataqua River, which limit the light getting to the plants, and that is basically causing the decline.
Right. Well, those are pretty dramatic losses. What does this mean in terms of changes in the overall habitat?
Well, we're losing that much area of grass means that we don't have the habitat for juvenile organisms to grow up in. We don't have the fish populations. As you know, being connected with Fish and Game, the fish populations have been down in almost all species. Our major species like flounder are virtually gone now. We still have some lobster in the bay, but they're about the only commercial species that's around. And the juvenile anadromous fish just don't come in, and the big stripers don't come in as well as they used to because there's no habitat for them to fish in.
Some of the local municipalities have made the claim that in fact the eelgrass beds are recovering, and they've kind of said, well, there's a lot of young new shoots out there, and that's indication that the eelgrass is coming back. Well, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, they're really misinterpreting the data. There is some new shoots coming. Eelgrass is a flowering plant, and it produces new seeds, and it produces seeds which produce new shoots. The problem is that when the plant is stressed, and as it is from the algae and the reduced water clarity, it produces more and more flowers, just like terrestrial plants. When they're stressed, they produce more and more seeds. So we're seeing a lot more seeds, which means a lot more beds begin to grow and are there the first season, but they don't survive.
They don't mature.
They don't mature, they don't turn into beds. So we see some beds starting and then they're gone by the next year. And the real danger is that their plants are putting all their energy into sexual reproduction and not into maintaining the beds that are there.
Right, so based on all of that, what do you think is the most important step we need to take to ensure a healthy Great Bay estuary?
Well, the driving force for the disappearance of eelgrass is the increased nitrogen coming into the system. And it's a combination of point source inputs from the sewage treatment plants and non-point source inputs from water that comes over the dams into the estuary, and that's a combination of atmospheric inputs, about half of it, and the other half is septic systems that aren't operating well, fertilizers, animal wastes, runoff from parking lots, things that are very hard to regulate. The point sources are the easiest ones, the ones that we know how to regulate. If they increase the sewage treatment to the point that it reduces the nitrogen coming into the bay, then we'll see an improvement.
So to avoid this tipping point, what percentage of nitrogen do we need to cut back in terms of what we're putting in order to...
We have to cut back about half.
Wow, that's a lot.
Well, that's what the Department of Environmental Services has calculated.
Right.
It's a reduction of about half. So it is a lot. And since the point source is a third, we can't count on that. They can't eliminate it all, so we can't count on that solving the problem. We have to do both reduction in point source with the treatment plant upgrades, reduction in non-point source, and as part of that, reducing atmospheric input.
Well, thanks, Fred, for all your hard work and studying the Great Bay estuary, and let's hope we can all work together to ensure its future is a good one.
Thanks, Peter. It's great.
All right. Great.